Here we are at Round Lake at my watercolor hut, which is about 6 feet by 7 feet, that I work in all my early sketches. This is Round Lake, a 30-acre freshwater lake, which is the view from this watercolor hut, which reminds me of where I grew up in Manchester, overlooking Puget Sound. So this is a place of concentration, a kind of wabi-sabi hut. And I've done a lot of my buildings. I began a lot of my buildings here, and especially the ones that are in the Asia collection, the horizontal skyscraper and the linked hybrid. The first drawings were made right here in this tiny hut on 5 by 7 watercolor paper. But I just want to speak about the Pacific Northwest now. And I was born in Bremerton, Washington in 1947. Same year as the beginning of the Bellevue Arts Fair, which is the community beginning of the Bellevue Art Museum. My father, Steven Holl, was born in Mukilteo, Washington, from Norwegian parents. And my mom, Helen, was born in the South and grew up in Columbus, Georgia. And they married in 1944. They were married for 65 years. But I always lived in the Pacific Northwest, in Bremerton and in Manchester, and built them a house in Manchester, my first house in 1975, overlooking Puget Sound and with Seattle and the Space Needle in the distance. And in fact, my mom took my brother and I to the opening of the Space Needle, the 1962 World's Fair in Seattle. So I have a deep memories of everything about Pacific Northwest and Seattle. And my first commission there was for the Chapel of Scenic Nations, which you see all these wonderful models in the exhibition. And the basic idea was about light, a gathering of different lights. And it has to do with Pacific Northwest light for sure. But it also was about the different aspects of the Catholic worship. So in these 7 bottles of light in a stone box, each corresponds to an aspect of the Catholic worship of their program for that chapel. And one of the things that they do is the spiritual exercises. So it's like what happens in complementary colors. If you stare at a rectangle and look away at a white piece of paper, you see a green rectangle. So that was the concept of these bottles. So there's a color field, and then there's a complementary color of the lens. For example, in the narthex, there's a red reflected color field, and then there's a lens that's green. Or in the Blessed Sacrament, there's an orange back-painted reflective color field, and there's a lens that's purple. In fact, if you go on the website of the Chapel of St. Ignatius, they have a beautiful diagram of the way these complementary colors work. For the BAM building, which was my second, well, let's say third, because I did my house for my mom and dad, but for the BAM building, I really like Ben Haywood's recent video description of it, and I'd rather have that stand for what that project is about, because I think he did an excellent job, especially the salmon analogy. And then the recent work now is the Quincy Jones Square. The developer Wes Larson has asked us to come back. You know, Quincy Jones, the great black musician, he's something like 85 now, gave his blessing because he started in Bremerton, Washington, on the piano, and this central square, it's closing down the street. The old Roxy Theater is being restored, but we're doing affordable workforce housing and a kind of support structure and a special pavilion, a special aspect, and you can see that in the models here. So I'm very excited to be able to return to the Pacific Northwest for this Quincy Jones Square project in Bremerton, but most importantly for this opportunity for this great exhibition here at the Bellevue Art Museum.